Hi, hello everybody. My name is Lillian and welcome to Creative Diaries. I'm really excited that you clicked in, that you're here. I'm excited because this is my very first episode of Creative Diaries. And this is a new process and a new project of mine that is sort of being figured out along the way. And so my intention here is to let you in, to invite you in to witness me, invite you into your own process, and invite you to participate in whatever way feels right for you. So, Creative Diaries, let's see if I can describe what the current idea is for this process. For me, this is a practice and a process around my creative healing journey. And so the intention here for me is to show up and to be in this practice of expression and expressing myself authentically and to experience what it is like to enter into creative flow and also get curious about all of the things that I encounter, to get curious about all that I encounter along the way. So I'm getting curious about everything inside of me, all of these different voices, all of these different parts, all of these things that want to come through me, and also all of these things that I perceive to be an obstacle on my path, and getting curious about the things that quote unquote get in my way, the things that get in my way of my own creative self expression, that get in the way of my authenticity. And what I want to clarify and what I'm practicing and clarifying for myself is that these perceived obstacles, these things that feel like are blocks to my creative expression, that I'm now coming into relationship with these parts of myself with compassion and curiosity, and not to remove them, not to dissolve them, not to push through them or push past them, but really to meet them and to greet them and to get curious about what they're giving me, what they're doing for me, what they're trying to do with me. And so what I'm finding is all of this rich, vibrant life within myself when I'm courageous enough to look inward. And not just look inward in a passive way, or even look inward in a sort of contemplative way, even though that is happening. I do have a meditation practice. But I mean, actually coming into relationship and into a sort of engagement with everything that is within me. So it's a practice. And what I'm inviting you to witness is me in this practice. And what I'm hoping is that through my process, that I can be a mirror for you, a sort of friendly companion for you along your journey. I like to play with different perception, excuse me, different perceptions and different questions and different ways to look at myself and look at the world. I like to play around with different types of creative material to get me actively engaged with the stuff of life. Yeah. And on a more personal note, actually, this is something worth noting. What I'm practicing too is showing up, yes, authentically and honestly, and to be a little bit more personal in how I show up. Share with you my story and my personal experiences. I am a poet at heart, and there's a part of me that is a teacher, and I like to talk about, and I like to conceptualize, and I like to frame things, and I like to indulge in the beauty and the language of my lived experience. And with that said, sometimes that can be a way that I hide. And so, what I'd really like to learn for myself is to be able to tell my story, like really tell my story, not just some abstract version of a concept, but tell my story and the things that I struggle with. And one of those things is hiding. I love to hide. I'm really good at it. I'm really good at being a chameleon. I'm really good at sort of blending into my environment and being who I believe other people want me to be. And so, this journey of authenticity and actually my obsession around it, it's not a coincidence that I'm so locked into this practice and this idea of authenticity, because I think that my experience of authenticity has been buried under so many layers of social conditioning and of my own sort of protective mechanisms and protective systems that have created some kind of barrier or wall or an illusion of separation between me and the world around me in my relationships, my intimate relationships, my familial relationships, my friendship relationships of all kinds. And so this question for me around authenticity is really like, who am I? Who am I really? Who am I really? And am I one thing? Am I many things? What's the through line? How do I feel myself from the inside as I encounter all of these different relationships and all of these different environments? And I don't have an answer. And I suspect that there is not just one answer, which I think is the fun of it. So it's a very personal process for me, this inquiry of self. And through this inquiry of self and authenticity, it brings me into the realm of connection and relationship, which is something that I've been exploring. That authenticity is not about a singular self, or it's not even about some kind of uniqueness of a singular self, but it's really about how the self, how myself is formed and shaped by the relationships, by the world around me, and by the experiences that I have, by all of my lived experiences of the past, all of my lived experiences that I'm having right now in the present moment. It really informs and shapes my perception and my felt sense of myself. And so there's a lot here. There's a lot here to explore. So the question remains, who am I in the midst of impermanence? And who am I in the midst of relationships and relating? And so this is why this inquiry of authenticity and also authentic expression is really about how I have been created and how I am continuing to create myself. And this is why I believe that the biggest, the most monumental creative process that I will be grappling with my whole life is myself, is how I create myself, how I come into relationship with myself, how I come into relationship with myself and through myself into the world around me. And if I am shaped and formed and created by my environments, my experiences, and my relationships, when I bring awareness to that, what else can I create? How can I move through the world and create my life with a sense of connection, with a sense of curiosity, and with this immense creative spirit that we all have? This is what's so amazing to me. We all have it. We all have the ability to make and to create. It's literally how the human body is formed, how our consciousness is formed, and the mechanism and the purpose of our consciousness itself is a creative life force where we make meaning and we take action through choices that we're making. So that's another level of curiosity, is what happens when I bring awareness, when I kind of wake up? What happens when I wake up to my sense of self? And when I wake up to this realization that I have choice and agency over how I am taking action and how I am creating my own perceptual experience. So, this action piece, right, the choices that we make, they're on this active, bodily, embodied level, right? When I take action in the world, there's an effect, there's a cause and effect. Energy moves. And then there's also the action and the intention of the more subtle aspects of our internal experience, our mind, our thoughts, what we choose to believe. And what we believe is a choice. And if I have a belief or a perception that is causing me suffering, well, what if I make another choice about how I perceive myself or the world around me? And on those very subtle levels, it changes us. There's alchemy that happens from inside. And through that alchemy, through awareness, that's when these sort of bigger movements occur, new choices. I say different words. I show up differently in relationship. I make different choices in how I take care of myself, what I'm attending to. So, yeah, I can feel myself getting really excited by all of this. So I already took us into a direction that I was going to save for second, but let me go back to the first thread that I actually wanted to start with, is this Creative Diaries process. So I'll just give you a little rundown of what my idea is of how I'm going to approach this structure. And it's all subject to change. That's like rule number one. Rule number one for me, the intention is, okay, I create a plan, I create a structure. We'll see if it works. And if it doesn't, it's okay that it changes. And how can I create a really kind of soft and loose structure that's really flexible? Because what I'm more interested in is letting my creativity and my creative energy be the thing that is leading the way rather than the other way around. So rather than a more top-down approach of like, oh, this is what I'm making, this is what it will look like, this is the purpose of this thing, and then try to kind of bring my creativity into that sort of more, what I would call a more rigid structure. What I'm really practicing is almost collapsing that structure and having a new one emerge, which is really being led by the creative spirit, the creative energy within myself. And to me, what that means for me is presence and listening. So if there's any kind of structure involved, it's literally just sitting down, feeling, listening, listening for what wants to come through. Now, the way that this is happening for me right now is through writing. I started a Creative Diaries newsletter. This is a weekly newsletter series. Although, ironically, and maybe this is information that isn't important, but I just feel like sharing it. I have these I have my writing process on an automated schedule, meaning that if you were to sign up for the newsletter, you would be receiving my newsletter once a week. However, for me, it's not a weekly practice where I'm sitting down and writing. These are automated emails that I'm setting up and adding to the automation, meaning that when you get the email, it's not in real time. It's something I had written maybe weeks ago or even further. So that excites me because I don't have to be beholden to a schedule, a scheduled practice. Like every single Wednesday, I am going to write this newsletter and send it. That has never worked for me. And when I say never, I really mean never. Like I've tried. And so this is another kind of example of me being like, okay, well, if that structure doesn't work for me, let's try something else. Why the hell not? So my practice is to listen and feel for when that inspiration strikes and give myself the flexibility to sit down and write whenever it's moving through me. Yeah. If you were to subscribe to the newsletter, you would be getting it on a more weekly cadence. The practice for me is to sit down and just feel what's happening in the moment, to speak about what's on my heart around my own creative healing process. It's a practice for me of telling my story, of showing up and allowing myself to be seen. And this is a big thing. What happens in the space for me when I know that there is going to be someone on the other side perceiving me? So I'll be writing these newsletters about my creative healing process. I contemplate things. I contemplate things like authenticity and what the creative process even is. Um, I touch into these really soft and, these old wounds within myself. I get curious. So this is for me my practice that I indulge in through writing. And I've been a journaler my whole life. Well, to be more specific, I started journaling maybe at the age of 12. And I've kept journals this whole time. I'm in my 30s now. So I have many, many journals. And so it felt right to me to continue to kind of move forward with this writing as a practice of becoming and a practice of learning what I know, of discovering new things through my writing practice. So that's the Creative Diaries newsletter. This here, if you're watching this is the podcast version of the Creative Diaries. My idea so far is that I will aim to have an episode out that is going to be published on Substack. It's going to be distributed to other podcast listening platforms also, but the main platform is Substack so that I can also do a written portion. So you'll receive this to your email inbox so you can listen, watch, and or read an essay. And my idea here is that it's a way for me to anchor into another level of reflection where at the end of the month I can go, okay, what the hell just happened? What have I been moving through? So it's a way that I can sort of ground and also track and learn on a deeper level and share on a deeper level. Like, okay, this is what I've been moving through. So you can come along for the journey for the whole thing. You can subscribe to the newsletter, and that way you'll get those weekly emails. Or you can tune in once a month as I publish these for now. And I would love to have you come along for the journey. It's a very earnest invitation because for me, it's part of the practice of being seen and being in that really kind of vulnerable space, that vulnerable space. So, just feeling into if there's anything else that I want to share for now. I'm just excited. I'm curious. And I do get nervous. I get nervous. This is something that's been coming up for me this past month as I've started to embark on this process is, oh, that feeling of like right before I hit send or right before I, publish the newsletter or as I, you know, am recording this podcast, there is a part of me that's like, oh, what do I say? How will I be received? Will I be received? So that's a big part that is here with me that I want to name. Oh, one other thing I wanted to name is I really want to have the experience of being able to like sit in front of, I mean, it's happening right now, sit in front of the camera filming myself, in front of the microphone. And I really want to experience what it's like to be in flow. And it's not to say that flow isn't happening right now. I am in some kind of a flow. But what I would really like is to feel a sense of confidence and move through and maybe what's the right word for this? Um, yeah, I don't want to doubt myself anymore. I don't want to be afraid. I don't want to doubt myself. And maybe it's an entirely unrealistic hope that fear will go away entirely or feelings of insecurity will go away entirely. But I want to find out. I really want to find out. I want to find out what it's like to just keep showing up and practicing. Because they do say that when you practice something, you do get better at it. So I'm like, yeah, there's a real drive in me to have an experience of just being in flow and something feeling easy. I want expressing myself to feel easy. I want to feel a sense of confidence in what I'm saying and in what I'm sharing. So the practice is it's self-serving in that way, which is another thing I'm rooting into that this is all for myself. It's for me. And I know that through my own process of connecting to myself and tending to myself, taking care and learning my authenticity, I know that it is some service. It's providing some kind of service and gift for others who are on this other side, who are witnessing and learning through me. So this is something that I'm telling myself. I'm affirming. I affirm. I affirm that in me deepening my relationship to myself, it's actually providing a deeper connection to others and the world around me. So I'm going to pause there for now. And yeah, I just want to say another invitation for you to reach out. I'd love to know your thoughts, if anything sort of came up for you in your own felt experience as you are hearing me and witnessing me. If anything is happening for you on your journey, in your creative healing journey. I'll do a lot more talking in the days to come about what I even mean when I say creative healing. I'll be talking more and more about authenticity. And so also if any sort of questions come up for you, open-ended questions or inquiries, let me know. I love taking in other people's experiences and letting your experience move through me and with me. And kind of, to me, this is all a co-collaboration, right? We're in this together. So I'm here. You're here on the other side. So why not connect? I'm only a few clicks away. You can reach out anytime. And until then, be well, and I'll see you soon. Mwah.